The world's far too big and complex. But in almost every case, it bends towards even being darker than I can even imagine. You can look at their white papers, their documents, but the reality of the tyranny is so much more real than just talking about it. You know, if I say car wreck, dead bodies on the highway, you can image that. But isn't it even more real to drive down the road and see smashed bodies and guts smeared on the road? You ever seen that? I've seen that a few times. I've seen people decapitated on the side of the road. But see, I can tell you about that, but until you've seen it, until you pulled over to help people when a Corvette flips 5 or 6 times and there's people with their heads chopped off and blood squirting out. Oh yeah, I pulled right off when there's blood spurting. You say, what are you talking about? I'm explaining to you that they want you to only have the image. Do you believe ABC or do you believe Alex? And I'm saying you can't believe Alex Jones or ABC. You've got to go out and see the car wreck of tyranny, of the New World Order, of lying about WMDs, of lying about derivatives for yourself. You've got to experience losing your job. You've got to experience your 10-year-old getting cancer from the vaccines. You've got to experience your 18-month-old going into a convulsion when they're given the MMR shot. To really know that I'm not lying to you, you've got to experience the CPS coming and taking your child. I know them. What did I say last week? I said every time I see an abuse case, almost every time, and it's really horrible, some crackhead with a 4-year-old child who weighed 15 pounds. A 6-month-old supposed to weigh 15 pounds. There was a case in New York. And it turned out the CPS had known for years and did nothing. But if you're a healthy, good-looking family with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby that they want, they'll take your child for nothing. But if you're some poor black baby that the system doesn't care about because this is a eugenics operation, they let her starve her little 4-year-old daughter to death. She was found in a crap-filled bed, chained down, 15 pounds, looking worse than a concentration camp victim. What did I say last week? I said I've seen these cases over and over again. They're really horrible. You'll hear CPS needs more funding in Texas or Florida or New York or Michigan because, oh, they let this family do this to their kid. Turns out they were having visits every week to the house and wouldn't take the child from this crackhead that wouldn't feed her baby. But your child falls out of a tree and breaks their arm, and is 4 years old or 5 years old or 6 years old or climbs up on a picnic table and falls off, they're going to take your child because they got families that want that little child. And those families are given a backstory. They don't know the child was stolen by CPS. All right, I'm already digressing. That's my point, is this all just feeds out into thousands of other issues and topics and points. All right, continue with the piece. Here it is.
Now,
are you for Hitler or against Hitler? Whatever they say, it's the opposite. They never tell. What? I mean, again, I mean, every second, what does that mean? I said this global government has many of the same policies and eugenics ideas of Hitler. And so you're either for Hitler or you're against Hitler. You're either for this New World Order or you're against it. This New World Order is Hitlerian. What do? They just have me up there saying you're either for Hitler or against it to send a message that, was that guy just saying he might be for Hitler? They took a 3-second clip. Back it up. Back up to the start. I'm not going to interrupt it anymore until we go to break, and we'll come back and play the rest. Please. Now, I've just played 20 seconds of this, and I've had to stop it 4 times because everything is to confuse people and make them hate me. And to go, what is this lunatic talking about? You're either for Hitler or against it, no context? I gave context. They were here all day, and they took 6-7 months to come up with a 6.5-minute piece of total confusion. Here it is.
if you were to stand on a street corner hollering that the government is poisoning our water supply, you'd probably get little more than eye rolls and head shakes. But do the same thing in a radio booth, you might just get 1 million listeners a day. Such is the case for Alex Jones, a man who trades in such sinister conspiracy theories, you have to wonder if he really believes half of what he says. Dan Harris went to Texas to find out.
Are you for Hitler or against Hitler? Whatever they say, it's the opposite. They never tell the truth.
To Alex Jones, the world is a very dark place.
America has been captured America is being robbed. We are now being looted like a third world nation. Well, I'm not going to sit down and shut up. World government means world tyranny run by a scientific dictatorship of control freaks that want to carry out forced population reduction.
Do you actually believe everything you say?
I believe all of it, absolutely. What I'm telling is the truth.
None of it is, you know, a shtick, a show at all?
No, it's all true.
Jones is arguably the nation's premier purveyor of what could be called paranoia porn.
The Obama deception. The truth strikes back. I'm live in 30 seconds.
All right. His 6-day-a-week radio show and webcast reach an estimated 1 million people a day.
This federal intrusion is out of control.
And on YouTube and elsewhere, Jones estimates 200 million people have seen his various documentaries.
We're taking our destiny back. You're not our gods or our masters.
With titles like The Fall of the Republic, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and The Obama Deception. You think Obama's a criminal?
Barack Obama is definitely an unconstitutional criminal.
Jones espouses a litany of conspiracy theories, although he thinks that term belittles his reporting. FEMA's running concentration camps?
All right. Yes. We're going to come back and play the rest of it. And I've already made all my comments. It's just everything in that piece is manipulation. Even the clips of my films they used were meant to be confusing. Like, what is he doing? We'll be right back. Okay, let's continue with this disinformation piece. Roll it.
In concentration camps?
Yes. They have designated sports stadiums. They have designated fields for the American people during a civil uprising.
The government's poisoning the water?
Absolutely. I have all these other government documents where the government proposes and government think tanks propose poisoning the water to dumb down the population, make it more easily manageable.
9/11 was an inside job?
Yes, 9/11 was an inside job. It was a staged event to launch the Iraq War and to set up a domestic police state here in the United States. Good pause. Back it up a few seconds, please. Thank you. So he just sits there. They're poisoning the water. They stage the terror attacks. They've got camps. Like he's Perry Mason, and I'm just admitting how crazy I am. Of course, I gave him the Emergency Centers Act bill, which is legislation to openly fund what they've already built, Rex 84. I gave him everything. And they admit Brigade Homelands training for civil unrest and mass arrest. I mean, that's Army times. He doesn't care. It's just, boy, look at this crazy person. Let's continue. It was a staged event to launch the Iraq War and to set up a domestic police state here in the United States. Look in the mirror.
People who monitor hate groups say they are extremely worried about the influence Jones has. You know this, but you have these vociferous critics who say that by floating these highly charged...
Back it up again a few seconds. So people that monitor hate groups. But the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL have been so exposed as political hacks that demonize innocent people, and that folks like Hal Turner work for the feds, that they wouldn't even say their names. Just people that monitor hate groups. So the message is, I'm a hate group. And then they go into, I'm going to cause violence. Like the guy watching all the Inconvenient Truth movies and things that took hostages a few days ago, who's calling for global one-child policies. Continue.
For his critics who say that by floating these highly charged ideas at a time when the country is already very angry and anxious, that you're making things more dangerous.
Look, I've got to report the information I see and what I believe is happening. I have a responsibility to put out the information, and then what people do with it, that's their issue. All right, let's stop there. Let's stop there. In the text article they wrote for ABC, you can go read it, it says, I've got a responsibility to put out, period. And everybody's in the comments going, what is he, a male hooker? So they made me sound crazy in the text by cutting that out and putting a period when I said I have a responsibility to put out the information I have. Took it out of context in the text because they could lie in the text. And the text, the way they put it together, is even worse than the actual piece. It makes it sound like I'm this guy that's about to cause a revolution. And notice, it's not about the corrupt banks, the corrupt government that's making people angry. It's not their fault. No, it's my fault that I'm telling them what the government's doing to them. See how every 10 seconds is another lie. They hit you on every level to try to punch that button. It's a full spectrum attack to try to hit everybody watching with whatever their hot button is. Hate groups, you name it, they're punching those buttons. They make me sound incoherent. I have a responsibility to put out information that I have. They cut it at put out. Here it is. ABC Nightly News / Nightline here.
Despite his mistrust of the so-called mainstream media, Jones agreed to let us into his world for a day.
Hey, we're just soldiers looking across each other on the picket line here.
Jones says he doesn't allow his dim view of human nature to color his personal relationship.
Do you have a sense of who your listeners are in terms of demographics?
He's downright ebullient about his wife and their 3 young children.
So your son knows the word propaganda?
Yes.
A 7-year-old.
All right. We're going to come back and conclude it. And we've got 2 guests coming up the next hour.